Okay, so here we have our outside spigot, which is tied into a PVC pipe that runs over to the pool that auto fills the pool with water, and then also has an attachment here for a secondary spigot where you can run a water hose off of it. So the other day I noticed when this was on, leaking. This son of a bitch split right here. So we need to replace this. Now if there was enough pipe up here hanging down before this junction here, this little T, we could cut and just replace the T with maybe another small piece of pipe as an extender. But because we don't have much room up here, we're gonna have to cut down here at the bottom, unscrew this from here, unthread it, and then we're gonna replace this piece. This elbow will get us a piece of pipe to go down into here, and then we'll get another T, and then a fitting here. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna get this hose off of here. This piece here we can reuse. It just threads on and off. It might be too tight for me to do it with my hand. No, it's not. Okay. So this piece will come off. We can reuse this. That's just thread tape, which we'll use more thread tape. We're going to put this on. It helps create a watertight seal. So now that we have this piece off, we're going to take this fine tooth laminate saw, little hand saw. You can use a power saw if you want to with some kind of blade on it. Pretty much anything will cut through PVC for the most part. So we're going to cut this here right under this connection. Just make small strokes. You don't have to push too hard, let the saw do the work. Try to keep your cut straight if you can. Just like that, we're through. So we've cut that off. We're going to clean it up a little bit before we put our new piece on. So now we can unscrew this from the actual spigot. And there it is. Now this piece here we can reuse as well. We're going to just have to get our new connector here, an elbow, and our T. So we'll go get the parts and then we'll put this all back together. You ready? All right, so now that we have this cut off, we want to reuse this piece because there's nothing wrong with it. It's not busted, it's not leaking. So we're gonna get this off. And of course, you can use almost anything to get this off. If you don't have a pipe wrench like this, you can use a couple of pair of pliers. I'm gonna see if this is big enough here to clamp onto this side, because of course this threads into this. So you wanna hold this while you spin that, or vice versa. It doesn't matter which one you spin, I don't guess. So we just want to get a good grip on this. These are vice grips. So you just get this screw adjuster to where this will be just tight enough to lock down and clamp when you apply a little pressure. You don't want it too tight. You don't want it too loose. You want it just like that. That shouldn't move. If it does, we'll tighten it up some. All right, so now we're gonna adjust this pipe wrench somewhat in the same fashion and get it to where it'll clamp onto this. And now, as most of you know, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So, or counterclockwise to loose and clockwise to tighten. So what we're gonna do is hold our pipe here with this, and we're gonna turn this thing counterclockwise to the left, just like this. And once you get it about out, you can release that. It'll come off with your fingers. Again, we've got some of that thread tape on there. We'll put some more of that on when we get everything put back together. So now we're gonna reuse this. We're gonna reuse that secondary spigot, and we're left with this. So when we go to Home Depot, we're gonna know what size that we need and all of that stuff. So we're going to get these things here, and then we'll put it all back together. All right, so we have went to the store and we took this pipe that we cut off of here because it was leaking, and we used this to go ahead and get the parts that we needed. So we grabbed this T, and these wound up being 3/4 inch diameter. So we have the piece here. We have the 45-degree elbow here. We have this piece here that attaches to the top, which will screw into here. And we are reusing this fitting and this fitting here, this spigot. I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up and get all of this old thread tape off of here. And that way I can reapply some new thread tape. And the thread tape, I don't believe, is absolutely necessary. Sometimes when you're dealing with air fittings, especially high pressure air fittings, you'll need to use thread tape. It just keeps, in this case, it'll keep the water from getting through all of these little threads and leaking. So you can try it without the thread tape at first, and if you don't have any leaks, you're fine. If you put this together and you find that you have a small leak or multiple leaks, then get some thread tape. And there's probably some other things you can use. There's some liquid stuff that you can put on it. But I just always have thread tape around in my shop. So I just use it to put it on there, and it just kind of fills up those little gaps. All right, and you don't have to get it spotless, but you just want to pull the majority of this stuff off, and then you can put some new stuff on. Okay, now that we have our fittings that we're going to reuse cleaned up, we're going to start getting this thing ready. To join the PVC pipes together, because these don't just go together. You have to have a piece of this pipe that goes inside of these. So we also have a long piece of pipe. Let me go get it. All right, so we have this piece of pipe. It's probably 12 foot. It's this 3/4 pipe, and the fitting goes right onto it. But of course, if you just did this, it would leak, it wouldn't stay on. So we have to join these somehow. And the way you join them is using a primer and some cement. Now this is just regular clear PVC cement. They make 4 or 5 different versions of this stuff. There's some that you can use in water, in rain. There's all these different ones. For this application, I mean, this is just regular well water coming out of here to feed the pool and to feed our garden hose. So it's not under any high pressure, anything like that. So we're going to use just regular PVC cement. But you want to prime everything first. So before I get started with all of that, because I'm not a professional at doing this stuff, I just have to do it because I own a house. I'm going to kind of dry fit everything before I actually put it together. So the first thing I'm probably going to do is look at connecting this onto here, because this is our first little connection point. Remember, this went like this, so this will go into here. So just to be anal about it, I'm going to take some Teflon tape and I'm going to wrap it around here. All I'm doing is I'm just wrapping it around, and I'm kind of pulling on the spool to keep it tight. You don't want it loose. You want it to be tight. You can't pull it super tight because it'll just break off. But pull it a little snug, make it tight around those threads, wrap it 2 or 3 times, and then you can just pull it. It'll come off. I got all kind of little critters coming out of there. All right, so now we're going to just thread this on. Maybe. There it goes. Goes on nice and tight. Get it with my hand. And as with most things, you don't ever want to over tighten them. But I'm going to take this old pipe wrench, give it a little bit more, maybe half a turn, and it's in there. So that's in there. That's where it's supposed to be. Now, when we cut this pipe off, you want to look at it. You want to get any burrs that are on it off. Kind of clean it up just a little bit. Make sure that's good. I mean, get out of here. All right, so that should be good to go. So then our next piece is this 45, because it needs to turn in to our T and then down into this pipe, which feeds the pool. So you can't just connect this to this. So you must have a piece of pipe that'll connect into here and then connect into the other side of this, of your 45. So using the same saw that we use to cut this thing apart with, and I'm just using this fine tooth laminate saw, this fine tooth laminate saw. And you just need enough pipe to fit in here. And if you had to, you could stick this pipe in here, let it bottom out there. And you could take this and kind of figure out where it's going to bottom out there. So you want a little bit of that sticking out. So let's cut it about here. Try to make your cut straight. And also, let's pull this out of here. I don't want to cut it while it's sitting there. So try to make your cut somewhat straight. And remember, you can always cut more off. So err on the side of being too big. If you're too big, and cut some more off. All right, so now that's cut off. Again, all those little pieces of plastic that are just hanging on, clean them off. And now that will fit into here. Again, right now we're just dry fitting everything. 45 will go there. Now we have to get this hooked in. And it'll go just like this. Now that's probably a little bit too much pipe, and I'm going to cut some of that off just because our angle's a little bit off. And that's what I was saying, you can always cut more of this off if you need to. So I'm going to cut some more off. It's not hard to cut. It doesn't take much time. Just be careful when you're cutting, of course, with your fingers and all that kind of stuff. Wear some gloves, eye protection, ear protection, whatever you want to feel safe. Get out of there. All right, so we've cut a little more off of that. Because as you can see, the original didn't have really any gap in there. So there we are with that. So then now we need a piece of pipe, of this straight pipe, to go in here to then connect to this. So I'm going to do it this way. So we have our 45 put in. Go ahead and slide the T on all the way down. That is the next pipe that you need to cut. So this piece here is not big enough, it's not long enough. You stick it in, we still have that much left. So I'm going to just eyeball this. Actually, let me grab a tape measure. I have a tape measure now. And it feels like we're right there. So I'm going to measure and say we need another 1.5 inches more added to this lengthwise. So I can take this, put it here. And you can make a mark on this with like a pencil. I'm just going to hold my finger on it. Come over 1.5 inches. About there. Okay, that's the longer piece. Okay, so now we have a longer piece that should now fit the way we need it to. So this is going to go in here. And this is going to go here. And then this pipe is going to go in here somehow. Like this. Let's see if we can bend this thing. Yeah. So it's kind of a pain in the dick. There's probably an easier way to do it. You might be able to connect everything and then screw this on easier, but I want to just bend this pipe out like this and get this 45 elbow to go in. Just be careful you don't break shit down here, but that's what I'm going to do. So now, starting at the bottom and working our way up. We're going to get this all put together. First thing you need is your primer. If you have anything that you've used in the past, like primer, cement, things like that, I can never get these sons of bitches back open without using like a pair of pliers or a wrench. So I use my pipe wrench to get these tops off because they're usually stuck on super hard. I'm going to go ahead and get both the primer and the cement opened up. And when you're dealing with these, you want to do both pieces. So we're going to do some primer there, some primer on the inside of our fitting here, and then do it again. Prime, prime. Now we have our cement. I'm going to run that around, and seat this thing right here. Just like that. That'll begin to dry. We'll do our top part. Primer there. Primer on the outside of this piece that's going to be sticking inside. Another coat of primer. Another coat of primer. Now our cement. Some cement on the inside. Some cement on the outside. We'll force this thing down in here. Like so. Now we have our 45 that goes on. So outside of this pipe, inside of this little 45, outside of this pipe again, inside of this pipe again, some cement on the outside, on the inside. We'll stick that on. Make sure that's good. Now we have our little piece that fits inside our 45 and goes into our outdoor spigot. Some primer. Some primer. Some more primer. Some more primer. And now our cement. Stick this down in there. And now we just have to get this fitting into here. So again, primer on the outside of this, primer on the inside of this, more primer here, more primer here. Now we have our cement. Cement on the outside, cement on the inside. And this is where I'm going to bend my pipe and get this son of a bitch to go in there. Like that. And just push it all back in. Push it all in there. Sometimes you have to hold it 5 or 10 seconds if things are wanting to move around or push out on you, but it sets pretty quick. All right, so now that is all in there. You know what I forgot to do? I think originally they had this brass piece attached into there, and then the PVC piece. So I don't know if that's going to affect us or not. I'm going to say no. We'll have it just in case. But that seemed to work fine. We'll know here in about 15 minutes when I turn the water on whether or not it worked fine. It all seems to fit okay. So now really all we have left is put this little spigot on, which is where the water hose attaches to. So we're going to now wrap this little guy with some more of that thread tape, just like this. Pull a little piece out. Just start wrapping. Start wrapping. And then pull it off. Now really we just have to screw this piece in. Of course, this one has its own valve here. That way you can turn the pool water filler on. You can turn this main spigot on. It'll keep the pool filled up where it needs to be with the float that's inside the pool. And then the water hose you can turn on and off just based on when you need to use the water hose. So it's just for the automatic pool filler. I like to get this somewhat tight. so it doesn't leak. So I'm going to spin this a couple times with the old pipe wrench. That should be good. So I got it tight with my hand. Spun it around one more time with the pipe wrench. Don't want to give it too much. But still not quite down to the ground like I want it. There we go. All right, we'll give this about 10 minutes. Make sure it sets up before we turn the water on and test it. And then we'll see if I did it correctly or if I fucked up. All right, took me a smoke break. About 10 minutes have passed. And I'm always thinking about other ways to do things and what if. So this was fairly quick and easy to put together, even though I had to bend that pipe a little bit to get this to go back in. Another way you could do it, and the way they probably did it when they installed this originally, is this pipe, of course, goes into the ground. It's probably 12 inches in the ground, if I had to guess, maybe 6 inches. But it runs under the ground and goes out there under the concrete into the pool. So what you could do if you wanted to take a little bit more time, but maybe make it a little bit easier, is you could dig some of this out, maybe 2 or 3 feet towards the pool out, exposing this pipe that's in the ground. You could put all of your fittings on if you wanted to. And then dig down a little bit to put this pipe a little further in the ground, and then connect up here to your outdoor spigot. Screw everything on and then fill your dirt up underneath. So it'd give you some more wiggle room to go up or down if you dug out the ground under here where this pipe is at, which is originally, I'm pretty sure, they dug their trench, they ran their pipe, they connected it all, then they filled everything back up with dirt. So you could do it that way as well. I'm not going to do that just because it would take a lot more time to do that, a lot more time and effort. And I just figured this would be a good way to do it. And it worked, we think. Let's turn it on and see. We're going to turn this on, check for leaks. Do that anytime you're doing plumbing. Always turn everything on and inspect it for leaks. Hopefully we don't have any leaks. So we turn this on. Now when we turn this on, this is the main line coming from the house. So it feeds this. Leave this spigot off, of course. That way you don't have water coming out of here, because that's going to make it harder for you to check for any leaks, because you're going to have water going everywhere. So this is off. Plus it helps everything build up pressure. So you're going to inspect visually for any leaks. I don't see any water leaking from anywhere. You can also touch. Now, if this was high pressure water or high pressure air, I wouldn't use my hands to test for any kind of leaks. Because for like super high pressure, if you put your hand on it, sometimes it won't be leaking until you touch it or move some things around, and then you'll have super high pressure air or water come out, and that can hurt your hands. It can cause some damage. But this being just regular old well water coming out of here, normal pressure, I can touch everything. So I'm just going to touch it all a little bit, wiggle it around, because when you're using this daily, you're hooking up your hose to it, that kind of thing, you're going to wiggle it around. This isn't a piece of antique fucking furniture. So I'm going to wiggle it, move it, knock it a little bit, make sure that everything is connected properly and we don't have any leaks. Don't have any leaks. And with me bending that pipe, like I said, it's connected down there, I'm sure, to a 90-degree elbow, similar to what we have here. This is a 45. There's probably a 90 down there at the bottom. And bending that pipe, yes, I could have cracked something down below. So I'm always noticing things, and I pay attention to detail. So when I'm out here while this is on, because this stays on constantly, it feeds the pool. So when the pool starts getting low on water, it just automatically puts water in the pool. So this outdoor spigot here stays on. The one to my hose stays off until I'm ready to use it. So there's always water in here. So if there was a crack or a leak there, eventually in the next couple of hours probably, I would see a bunch of water here, and that would indicate I have a leak right here under the ground, and then I would repair that. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I don't think that has happened. So that's just something to monitor. If you do what I did, make sure you don't have any leaks down there. So just watch out for that. Now we'll turn this on. We have water coming from there, of course. I don't know why there wouldn't be water coming from there. unless we clogged up one of our pipes with something. But anyway, that turns on and works as it should. So this repair is done. PVC pipe is really easy to work with. It's not that expensive. You know, anybody can do it. So that's it. And if you have any questions about it, you can leave some questions in the comments, and I will answer you with any questions you may have. As I said, I'm not a professional. I don't do this shit for a living. I make money doing other things. So if you're a professional and you have a comment or about something I might have done incorrectly or whatever, by all means say something. But I'm just a homeowner trying to fix shit around here and not pay you bastards $75 an hour to do shit like this. Peace.